Hey everybody, and I'd like to wish a very happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there in Talking Habs community. I hope you have a great day. Hope your kids treat you well. And so I'm going to do this video. It is about father and son combos in the NHL. I'm going to list them by their amount of points. And I'm going to give you their combined numbers because it's going to take way too long if I give you their individual stats. And so I'm listing them by numbers, but you're going to see, I'm sure if you look in the list, you'll find combos that have some better numbers, and that's fine. A couple of them in the lower ranks have a reason, and a couple of them are there just because that's who I found, and I left room for you guys. Listen, it's Father's Day. You got to have something to do on Father's Day. I left room for you guys to let me know some combos that I didn't put in this video. Let me know who you would think you would change and who you would put there to change. So I left lots of room for that. I didn't want to spend 4 hours today researching this, so I took an hour and a half, and I put this together. So like I said, lots of room for you to find other guys. I'm sure there's some other combos that might be better than these guys, but these are who are in my video. So happy Father's Day, everybody. This is my present to all the fathers. Something to do on Father's Day and maybe something to have fun with. So we'll get right into it. So these are father-son combinations. In a couple of them, there's three. There's two sons and a father, obviously not two fathers. And yeah, I think it's really fun. There's a couple of older ones, there's some newer ones, and there's just all kinds of combinations. And of course, the top three, I don't think you can argue about. The top three would be anybody's top three father-son. I think so. And I think you might, maybe the order might be different, but those are going to be the top three. So let me get my marker. We're going to change colors today. And you see nice and bright. So it could be a Pride Father's Day. It could be, it's for everybody. I'm inclusive for everybody. Okay, so let's go. Right now, we're going to start with 15. So I think I need number 15. So these are, this is an older one. So, and the Habs. They both played for Montreal Canadiens. Their numbers aren't super great, but they were really good defensemen. And especially the father. That is Emile and Pierre. Oh, this is going to take a long time, guys. And Pierre Bouchard. Oh, I don't want to get touched by the fan. My fan clock. So Emile and Pierre Bouchard, 1,380 games between them, 73 goals, 227 assists for 300 points. Don't forget they were both defensemen. I don't think either of them were offensive defensemen, but they were really good, solid defensemen. I never saw Emile play, but he is like he's one of the hockey legends in Montreal. And Pierre, I did see play. Big guy, tough, hard to push around, and stay-at-home type of guy. I just think a great father-son duo, and they have the Montreal Canadiens tie. Number 14, speaking of tie and Montreal Canadiens, tie and Max Domi. Oh, that's not a good M. I don't want to get touched by that fan. So Ty and Max Domi. Now Max, I think, is going to put up some really good numbers over his career. It's still a very young career, so the numbers could or will be higher. But they played 1,395 games between them, 185 goals, 311 assists for 496 points, and Max has passed his father in points with 251 to 245 for Ty. Ty was a really solid fighter. I didn't put his penalty numbers, but over 2,000, like 25 something in penalty minutes. And Max, I think, has already 300 penalty minutes. So Max, we all know here in Montreal, has a temper, and that sometimes can get away with him. It can get away off his game. It can get him off his game is really the point I'm trying to make. And we know that's something that he kind of has to. I want to say temper. He has to, get control of, because he's got a lot of talent, and he's much more. He's needed much more on the ice than in the penalty box. Number 13. These are both old. The father was a really solid defenseman, and I think he played in the Summit Series back in '72, and that's Pat and Mike Stapleton. I'll get it right. Now, Pat Stapleton was a defenseman. Mike was not. Pat Stapleton was a really solid defenseman back in his day. Like I said, he played for Canada at the Summit Series. Mike was just basically a journeyman type of guy. Didn't put up big numbers, a third, fourth line player. But I've got them here because I remember both of them and I saw them play. And like I said, this isn't necessarily the best ones. And I want you guys to let me know who I missed on. So between them, 1,322 games, 114 goals, 405 assists for 519 points. Next up, and I know the hockey guy really likes the father here. And the son, I know he's not great, but he's got decent numbers. So that's, I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes. Paul and Sam Reinhart. I don't know a lot about Sam Reinhart, I'll be honest with you. Paul Reinhart, now while I wasn't really like a super fan or followed him, but he was one of those kind of players that if you collected hockey cards back in the day, he was one of those players that they printed a lot of his cards. So I know, I know who he is. I saw the Habs play against him. He was a pretty solid forward. Not superstar, but solid. Between them, 1,048 games, 242 goals, 573 assists for 815 points. So those are good, solid numbers. Sam, I know a first-round draft pick, hasn't really produced on his promise that he had. And, yeah, but Paul was a really good player. Next up, father-son combo. Father played for Montreal for a few years. 86 Cup, not in 93. The son is a guy that I don't really like, but he looks like someone he's young, just starting out, a couple of seasons in, and I think he'll be a good solid hockey player. That's Claude and Brandon. Yeah, I know. I don't like writing so much. Lemieux. And one of the reasons why I'm putting him up here, because you could say Brandon Lemieux doesn't really have the numbers yet. And I get that, but he really plays solidly against Montreal. He's a guy I don't like. He seems to step his game up against Montreal, like he's trying to get revenge for something that Montreal might have done to his father. I don't know. Seems like that. So between them, 1,346 games, mostly by Claude, 398 goals, 424 assists for 822 points. But I do believe Brandon will contribute in the next 10 years over on those numbers. Number 10. We're going back a little bit for number 10. I'm over here. My dogs are on the floor. My dog is on the floor in the way. That's the problem. So this is Cal and Dave. And Dave was drafted 8th overall in 1972 by the Montreal Canadiens. And Paul Gardner. So that, a lot of times I forget they are. So that's a father, 2 sons, obviously. I definitely remember, I don't remember seeing Cal Gardner, but I remember hearing about him. In my day, when about hockey, we learned about all that old stuff. We really did, because hockey was the thing. You lived and breathed hockey back then when I was growing up. And yeah, we learned about the 40s, 50s, 60s, even older than that. We learned about those players. So Dave, like I said, was drafted by Montreal in 72. I don't think he played for Montreal. He might have very briefly, and then was traded, I think, to California Golden Seals. Paul Gardner was a decent player, almost a point-a-game player. Between them, 1,493 games, 430 goals, 555 assists for 985 points. So not bad numbers. But, I mean, there are 3 of them, so you got to get that too. Number 9. Now, this goes farther back. The father is, I think, from the 40s. And the son, both the same name. I definitely remember from the 70s. And I believe... Okay, so it's Sil and Silas, but the son was Silas Jr. I just didn't know how to put it in there. So I believe he had a 99-point season for Pittsburgh in the day when Pittsburgh wasn't a good team. Silas Jr. was a solid hockey player. And so was his father. I think the son, well, you know what, according to the numbers, the son was a little better, but they were both great hockey players. Between them, 1,150 games, 384 goals, 654 assists for 1,038 points. So those are really solid numbers for father-son combination. Silabs Jr., I remember, he was a really good hockey player. I believe he played for Toronto as well. Here at number 8. The son is playing lead today. Dave and Sam Gagne. In some cases, you know, there's another son, but he didn't really do much, so I don't put him up there. Let's see. Dave Gagne. I mean, I remember him from his day. He was good at Dallas Stars, I think, or was the North Stars? I'm not positive. It was the Stars team. He was really good. Sam Gagne, first-round draft pick. He's played a lot of games. Hasn't really produced the way he was expected. That's my dog agreeing with me. So 1,790 games between the two. 482 goals, 696 assists for 1,178 points. Dave Gagne was a really good player. Next up, there's 3 of these guys. I know one is still playing. I don't know if the other son is playing. That's Mike, Nick, and Marcus. Foligno, however you want to pronounce it. I'm from Quebec, so Foligno, because that's just natural to say it like that, but some people do say Foligno. Mike Foligno was really a good, solid, kind of like he had a lot of penalty minutes. So he was like a third-line solid checker, can produce some offense and takes penalties. Nick is it seems like he's also a third liner. Marcus, probably fourth liner. From the numbers I can see anyway. But the father, Nick, I think he was the captain of Buffalo, if I'm correct, with the Sabres at some point, was the better player, it seems, of the 3. 2,491 games between them, 626 goals, 750 assists for 1,376 points. Not too shabby. Next up, JP and Zach. My son is Zach. I'm spelling Zach wrong. And Zach Parise. JP Parise was a really good forward mostly for North Stars, I think, Minnesota North Stars. And we all know Zach Parise, good solid player, especially when it was with New Jersey. He really put up some points there. It seems like his point production slacked off a little bit in Minnesota, but he's a really solid hockey player. Got better numbers than his dad, but he also played a little bit more games than him. Between them, 1,905 games, 624 goals, 762 assists for 1,386 points. So really solid numbers and 2 really good players. I do remember JP Parise, and I don't know, for some reason I thought he played here in Montreal, but there was another JP. But it always stuck. I just checked; he didn't play even one season here. But good player. And well, Zach, like I said, we all know Zach. Next up, number 5. Again, 3, and they're kind of the father I didn't mind. The sons I don't really like. So let's see, Keith, Matt, I think you know now who it is, and Brady Tkachuk. Now, I have to admit, I'd probably like Brady Tkachuk a lot more if Montreal had drafted him, and he was doing those things here in Montreal, but he's not, and he takes a certain relish in playing that kind of, and he's a good player against Montreal, and we play them a lot, and I don't really like Brady Tkachuk. From what I see of Matt, he's kind of similar kind of player. I don't remember. I know Keith, he was a solid, hard-nosed, rugged kind of player, so I guess that's where they get it from. So between them, 1,636 games, 675 goals. Don't forget, Brady and Matt haven't played a ton of games. 714 assists, 1,389 points. My dog just, it says it's Sunday, there's dogs out barking. So sorry about that. Next up is number 4. She agrees with that. Number 4, he might surprise you because it surprised me by numbers, is Thomas. Okay, Ray, it's enough. and Alexander Steen. Now, Thomas Steen, I remember from, I want to say the 70s, probably the 80s, for the Jets. Good, solid hockey player. Always put up good, like consistent, good numbers. Not great numbers, but good numbers. Solid all the time. Alexander Steen, I only discovered, I think, last year when I was looking at trade targets and stuff, and I came across him. I didn't know that he had a kid in the league. But he also, good, solid numbers. So Thomas Steen, no, I'll just give you their numbers. 1,968 games between them, 509 goals, 930 assists, 1,439 points. Yeah, it surprised me. When I had them on the list, I knew Thomas Steen was really good. I remember Alexander was good. So I put them on the list, and then when I checked the numbers, it kind of shocked me. As a matter of fact, I had them lower, way lower down, and I had to rise them a lot. Next up, number 3. Now, these guys... okay, we're not as much time as I thought it would take. These guys, I don't think the next 3 father-son combos, I don't think you can argue about at all. You may say 1 and 2 could be one over the other. I think 3 is solidly 3. 1 and 2 you can argue with, and I actually had them the other way around, and going by numbers, I had to switch them back. So we'll get to that, who they are, but start with 3. And that is a hockey player I really, really liked, as far as talent and all that, but he played with the team I did not like, and that was Quebec Nordiques, and a lot of games where he was an agitator and just he killed us in with his offense and stuff like that. So Peter, and his son is in Vegas right now, and Paul, Peter and Paul Stassney. You know, if you're going to say who was an underrated superstar back in the day from the 70s and the 80s, you know what? It's Peter Stastny. Peter Stastny had maybe second or third best numbers in one of those decades. He was a great hockey player. I know everybody thinks he was a really good, solid, whatever. Some people think he was great, but he was a great hockey player, and I believe that he's quite underrated. So between them, 1,922 games, 700 goals, 1,265 assists for 1,965 points. That's awesome numbers. And like I said, Peter Stastny, great. So now number 2 here, I had them number 1. I had to invert them, so I didn't rewrite it. But I thought they would be the number 1 combo, but they got beat out a little bit by the other combo. And that is, so I don't do it wrong, Bobby... the Golden Jet, and Brett, the Golden Brett. The Hulls, great hockey players. Listen, you might not like them. You know, Brett, he's kind of Bobby too. Just says it how he feels, and you know, a lot of people don't like them. And a lot of people love them, but you can't ever take away the fact that they were great hockey players, great goal scorers. Bobby Hull, like you said, the Golden Jet, I'll give you the numbers now. Between them, 2,332 NHL games, because Bobby played in the WHA. 1,351 goals, 1,210 assists, 2,561 points. And Bobby Hull put up, in 411 WHA games, 303 goals, 335 assists for another 638 points. And the WHA, while not the NHL, I mean, it wasn't that far off. So, you know, those points actually mean something. So that's number 2. And obviously, I think if you know your hockey, you know who's coming up next. Now, there's 2 brothers. One doesn't even rate being there. He didn't play enough NHL games. Played with them in the WHA mostly. Wasn't good enough for the NHL. So I'm not including him here. And so the number 1 father-son combo is obviously Gordy and Mark Howe. They were by far, not by far, but they were obviously the best. I mean, for me, it was between them. When I listed them, I wrote them down, Bobby Hull, Gordy Howe. Straight off the top of my head, it's not hard to know who the top 2 pairs were, but I really thought it was the other way around. So, between them, 2,696 NHL games, 998 goals, 1,594 assists for 2,592 NHL points. In the WHA between them, because they both played there, 845 games, 382 goals, 630 assists for another 1,012 points. So by far, I guess by far, they were the number one. I really thought it was Bobby Hull and Brett Hull. So there you go. So hopefully you fathers enjoyed this. It's a bit of a long video. It's twice, it's 20 minutes. I thought because of the having to write the full names and all that, I thought this was going to take me about 30 minutes. So I'm really happy it didn't. I hope you enjoyed that. And like I said, obviously there are some better combinations of father-sons out there, and I'm challenging you guys to find them and let me know in the comments who they are and where they would fit in this list. So hopefully you'll do that, and let me know what you think of my list and what you think of it in the comment section that's down below. Please give a thumbs up if you liked the video, and if you haven't already, and while you're down there, subscribe and ring that notifications bell, and that's going to get you your daily fix of Blue Blanc Rouge right here at Talkin' Habs. There's a join button that's for memberships. So if you're interested in joining the Talkin' Habs community, the membership community, click on that. It'll tell you what to do. It starts at $1.99 a month. And right now we've got 3 people, that is including me. I took a membership. And we're hoping to build that up. You get members-only live stream and members-only videos and other perks. You can check that out down there. So I appreciate that, giving me your time on a Father's Day, and maybe depending when you're watching this. So thanks for that. Hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please keep safe out there. And I won't get into the controversy about wearing a mask and all that. It's starting to become a controversy. But please just stay safe out there. And I want you back for the next video. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Hope you watch the next video. Peace out, y'all. And I'll see you on that next video. Bye, y'all.